and I want to play the way I want to play, and just be able to unwind and relax, because that's what this game is made for, right? So yeah, I do have one deck that I'm working on right now that super janky.
Yeah.
For Modern. I really hope that I get to play it in a few weeks, and hopefully get it on stream. Even if I'm not doing well, hopefully just get a random backup match.
Nice.
And just
Yeah, those are always fun for like LGSs, like just to be able to play like something spicy, a little bit fun.
Yeah.
So like I've talked about this a little bit. I wonder your take on this. I think I talked about this in week 1, but I like having kind of like outside surprise decks when you go to like larger tournaments. I think you have a little bit of an edge because like in the room where you're playing, every opponent doesn't know what you're playing. Whereas if you're like in an LGS and you come in with something like really spicy, everyone's go, oh man, like he's playing like whatever. And so you know kind of how to like instantly
adapt to it.
Mulligan or something against you, right? What do you think about that with like larger tournaments?
Yeah, it's definitely like a good thing. When you go to large tournaments, especially ones that are like, over 100+ people, people make concessions in their sideboards, right? So you have to say, all right, what do I really need sideboard cards against? I only have 15, and there's so many decks, especially in Modern, like what, so some people get like really niche or really like not great but versatile cards, and then you come in with this deck that none of their sideboard cards do anything against, none of their main board cards really matter, and it's just like, and they're just like, I don't know what to do, I didn't prepare for this, and you just come in and you just sweep them off, and like, I'm not saying that that's like gonna win you every single time, but sometimes you just come in and you're just like, all right, I'm here, and you can't do anything about it.
Yep, I agree, for sure.
All right, so we're on round 5, right?
So we got Burn again, man. Burn is just, tonight, just
I guess.
all over stream. So these guys are 4-0 each, so we're getting into our final round here of the top decks here for the night. Dan Boss for 4-0 against Zack Davies on Allies. Very cool, huh?
Yeah, I've played against him a couple times on this deck, and it is surprisingly good. It is very, very aggressive and surprisingly versatile.
Okay. And so what is he? He's just playing. Is it kind of like White Weenies style deck?
Kind of, yeah. So the main driving force is How to Freeblade and I can't remember the 2-mana one, but it's basically the same thing except that it's First Strike. Really, really good. Yep, there it is. That's the card right there. How to Blade something Blade Master.
What is this one?
2-mana, white for... Can you bring it up, AJ, please? For a 1/1 with First Strike, and then right here.
So we got... Okay, I want to read this one since I don't know what this one is. So we got Human Soldier Ally, First Strike, Vigilance. Whenever it comes into... Or whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 1... So cool. Okay, so this is kind of like a Champion of the Parish, essentially, for allies. For allies.
Yep. And it has, it has First Strike and Vigilance, so it's like really, really good.
So obviously we would never see this in humans because like the allies clause, right? But like in this allies deck, it operates as like a Champion of the Parish, which is pretty sweet.
They actually have a Champion of the Parish in this deck called How to Freeblade. It's not a 1/1, it's a 0/1.
Okay.
But it's the same thing. It's 1 mana, white, 0/1, and whenever an ally enters, it gets a +1/+1 counter.
Okay. So I just saw in his hand he's got Coco, Collected Company. So like looking at his mana base, so with any tribal deck, the two main so in the past we had Merfolk was powerful. But now the two main tribal decks that we see are either spirits or humans. The most notable difference between those two is their mana base. Whereas humans is like very reliant on these like tribal lands, where spirits is more like a normal colored mana base. This one obviously also is the same way. It's not reliant on these tribal lands, right? Yes.
So the difference, I think, that makes like humans have to play such weird, funky lands is that it's trying to play like consistently 5 colors. Well, pretty much 4 colors, and then it splashes red, right? So it's trying to do like really, really awkward stuff, like play white on 1, black on 2, and then like blue-white on 3, and like just really awkward colors. So like in order to have any kind of consistency, you have to just play rainbow lands.
Okay. Where it's like, but the benefit of like not playing those, so like, okay, so excuse me. So one of the downsides in humans though is they can't really play non-creature style cards other than like an Aether Vial, right?
Correct.
It's so easy to cast.
Yeah, and then that's the downside is like most of their spells most of their lands say like make color for creature spells in humans.
What just happened here?
Okay, so Zack played a card called Lead the Stampede. Here we go. 3 mana.
Gotcha.
Look at the top 5. You may reveal any number of creatures and put them into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom. So he played it and revealed a Evangel and Blade Singer, I think the red one is called. I know the red one is 2 mana, 2/1. Whenever an ally enters, all allies get +1/+0. And then the 3 mana one is Evangel. Whenever an ally enters, all allies gain protection from a color of your choice until end of turn.
Okay. So Dan having a pretty good like main board. His own self turn here, like dealing about to deal 6 damage here. Lillian Bender, the ally clause for that card was that it only mattered if allies enter the battlefield, whereas in Champion of the Parish is if humans enter the battlefield.
Yep.
So this is what we're talking about here with this collected company. So the tribal decks, like Spirits, and then now obviously this allies deck, is able to cast non-creature spells that actually do stuff. So you get. So why is collected company so powerful?
So it's really good in these like really small tribal decks. Most of them obviously are playing really tiny creatures, and you get to look at the top 6 cards, put any 2 of them, any 2 of the creatures that you find onto the battlefield. And so like in tribal decks, usually playing creatures, they're not just whatever creatures they play. Like they usually gain you big effects.
Okay.
Because you're playing a specific creature type or something. So like right here, this is like one of the best Cocos you can have with allies on an empty board. He plays it, gets Battle Singer, which is a 2/1 with haste, gives your allies +1/+0 when another ally enters, and then right here, a Chrome Battle Singer. Well, 1/1, sorry. And the other one that he got was a clone effect for allies.
Ah, okay.
That is not it. That is also not it. Nope, you passed it. That's it.
Oh, cool.
Yep, it's just an ally that is a shapeshifter, except
cool.
it becomes an ally. Or you can only target allies. So it came in, he got to copy it, and they both came in, saw each other, and they both attacked. They were both 4/1s until end of turn with haste.
So it's like a much less conditional version of an image in the humans deck.
It's a little more conditional.
Oh, a little bit more
because it has to target an ally, but it doesn't have the like target it and sack it clause.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's a little better in that regard, but it only fits in that deck.
Right. So and also obviously in the humans deck with the Phantasmal Image, you can target your opponent's creatures also.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's go over these sideboards real quick. Probably going to see a little bit what we've expected for burn here. We got 2 Searing Blaze, 3 Rest in Peace, 3 Destructive Rev, 2 Exquisite Firecraft, 1 Skullcrack, 1 Satyr Fire Dancer, and 3 Pests. A little bit similar to what we saw earlier. What are you liking here?
All right, so actually I see a lot in here. Searing Blood is really good. He's playing a lot of small creatures, so this is going to allow him to deal with the board and continue putting pressure on. Skullcrack, if he knows the allies list, it does play, I believe, 2 of an ally that gives lifelink. So that could be a pretty big game when he goes to like swing the game in his favor, and he just like says, okay, you can't gain life, and then on the crackback.
Yep.
Destructive Reverie can come in against Aether Vial, because pretty much all small weenie decks, especially tribal ones, play Aether Vial, and then Path to Exile, just another way to deal with creatures.
So the Satyr Fire Dancer, though, pretty good against all his
It could be pretty good because what Satyr Fire Dancer does, because that's a very unknown card, is whenever a source you control deals damage to a player, you deal that much damage to a creature.
So there's probably no other reason. I mean, you wouldn't have that in the sideboard unless you wanted to play it against decks like this, right?
Correct. So you would probably also bring that in. And it's also a 2/1, so you could, like, block something, bolt their face, kill something else, and trade.
Oh, nice. Okay, so let's see Zack's here with the ally. A little bit spread out board here. So we got 2 Ondu Clerics. I'm not going to know all these because obviously he's playing a little bit of outside deck here. So 2 Ondu Clerics, 1 Disenchant, 1 Settle the Wreckage, 1 Blasted Alliance, 2 Dampening Spheres, 1 Tuk Tuk Scrapper, 1 Stony Silence, 2 Rest in Peace, 1 Kataki, 1 Halimar Excavator, which I don't know what that one is either, 1 Gideon of Alexandakar, and 1 Heroic Intervention, which is a very cool card. Okay, what do you like? Okay,
Ondu Cleric's really good. If you don't know what Ondu Cleric is, it's an ally that says when it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to the number of allies you control.
Cool.
So it's just a gain life card. Really good. Settle the Wreckage I could see coming in if he has enough room to bring it in.
Really? Against burn?
Yeah. Sometimes you just like get their like 2 or 3 creatures. it may or may not make the cut.
Okay.
Blessed Alliance, though, for sure. Blessed Alliance, 2 mana, modal card, and you can escalate it for 2 extra mana. One of the abilities is they sack an attacking creature, and another one is gain 4 life.
Okay.
So if he's ever after to pay 4 mana and have them sack something and gain 4, it's just huge. Other than that,
what's this Tuk Tuk?
Tuk Tuk is an ally that enters the battlefield, and then whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield, you destroy an artifact.
Okay. And then in this matchup, the Gideon is probably just too slow, right?
Probably, and like he's already bringing in quite a few cards, so I don't think it would. I mean, he could if he really wanted like a resilient threat, but I just think it would be too slow.
And Heroic Intervention is mostly against like decks, like control decks that are going to be doing big board wipes, right?
Correct.
Okay. So he's not going to try and really worry too much about like, single removal spells?
Yeah, it's like not super good value when you're casting your 2 mana spell to counter a 1 mana spell.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty, let's try and see if we can get chat back up on our screen here. These guys are just kind of doing a little bit of a layout.
Yeah, I think this matchup is going to really come down to if Zack can find any of his ways to gain life.
Okay.
Because it's going to be he can put pretty good pressure on and maybe outrace burn. But if Dan feels like he's being outraced, he can just start directing his spells at the creatures. But if at any point Zack finds either the one that gives lifelink or the one that gains life, it's pretty easily going to bring him way out of reach.
Kind of like what we were talking about earlier when we saw some of the earlier burn matchups when they were playing
Obstinate Baloth and Dragtusk and stuff.
It's a huge deal for it takes them off 1 or 2 spells, and that's enough just to kind of like break their offense, right?
Yeah, especially when you're also attacking them, right? So when you're like in a race, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I just negated like 3 of your turns, like it's just game over.
So is this a surprise for you to see allies at 4-0?
Not really, honestly. It's like I said, I've played it against it a couple times, and it is surprisingly fast and good. Like people are like, oh, like ally or humans is just like the best tribal deck, and then after that it's like spirits, and then merfolk, and then like bottom tier quote unquote would be like slivers, and then like nobody expects allies, but it's actually just like super good and fast.
Cool.
I saw like a year or 2 ago, I think somebody was playing it on like Star City Games, and I was really interested.
Dan looks like he's got 1 land, but a bunch of really good.
I think he's got 2 Lavamancers, Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt.
Also, Dan actually, I just realized that was that Dan. Dan has been playing Magic for a long time, and he's a very good player. He's pretty competitive in EDH 1v1, which a lot of people just like casual EDH might not always transition that well into like some of the other formats, but the EDH 1v1 is definitely. We got a question in chat. What is your favorite EDH decks?
Yeah, I think right now it's probably the one that I have right now, which is Zindersplit and Okan, which is the blue and red partner cards from Battle Bond.
Yeah.
Basically, they're just like chaos cards.
Oh, Miss Claus for me? Oh, like I always liked so it depends. If I'm playing like group EDH, like it's different than the 1v1.
Right.
When I used to play group EDH, like I really liked playing blue, white, green blink cards. Like in general, like it was just you can get a really big board state, and if you don't take a damage really fast and you can get a decent board state, like that kind of deck could just like take over. Like, and there's multiple commanders actually that you could play for that. There was like the Rhino guy. So remember what he would like blink your creatures.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
The bird that would flash in. There's a bunch of different commanders, but that deck wasn't like really commander dependent. But that deck was sweet because there's so many enter the battlefield cards that you can play for that. All right, so what do we got here from turn 1 from Zack?
All right, Zack, he played Cavern of Souls, naming allies, of course, and then played the Hada Freeblade, which is the champion of the parish of allies. Here you go.
So cool. And then Dan just played a land and passed, it looked like. Yep,
I think he's probably holding up a lightning bolt.
What is this from Zack now? Just
so this is the Acromal Battle Singer. Yep.
Okay, the haste creature.
Yep. So this is gonna make him attack for a lot on turn 2.
Man, this deck is quick.
Yeah. So the Acromal is gonna be a 2/1, and then if it were to resolve, the Freeblade would be a 3.
So is essentially this deck kind of just like a less disruptive, like hand disruptive version of humans?
Kind of. It's trading versatility in that regard of like hand disruption and stuff for just pure speed.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the best games in humans is like having those kind of quick, fast starts. You know?
Yeah, when you're able to just like really get under your opponent.
Essentially, it does act like a burn deck when you play like that.
Mm-hmm. See, this is the one thing that I think holds allies back is that there's almost enough good ones, not quite. So like this one right here is Expedition Envoy, just a 1-mana 2/1.
Yeah, so just like a good value creature in general, but not like enough maybe for Modern to be like super impactful.
Right, so you only play it because you need another 1-drop. You need one more 1-drop, and it's a 2/1, which is fine.
That art on there is so cool, though.
Mm-hmm. So like I think this deck would actually be pretty competitive if they had like one more 1-drop and then like one more 2-drop that did something irrelevant.
Which we're seeing on the opposite side of the board, on Dan's side of the table, a 1-drop 2/2 that's just so much better than what Zack dropped.
Yeah,
but obviously Zack is he's getting the effect from having the benefits of having all.
Right, like when you drop it on like turn 4 or 5 and you have like 3 ally triggers go off, you're like, wow, this card seems really good. But when it's just by itself, it's just not. All right, seems like Dan's off to a pretty good start here. He's being able to deal with everything that Zack has put out, and also start establishing a board presence with the Goblin Guide here.
What about this this ally encampment land? That's kind of cool. That's different than some...
yeah, it's a ally specific land. You can tap it to add any color for an ally, and then here you go. Tap 1 for you can make a colorless. And then 1, tap it, sack it, and then return any ally to your hand.
Sweet. That's actually something that maybe like in a mid or late game could be.
Yep, it's useful, a pseudo-protection spell. I think it's slightly worse than the effect you get from Sliver Hive in the Sliver deck. Mm-hmm. The Sliver Hive is 5 mana, but it gives you a 1/1, which I think is a little better than just being able to bounce one of your dudes to your hand. Here you go. So 5 mana, tap it, put a 1/1 Sliver.
Yeah.
So I think that in like a deck that like obviously matters what all your dudes, that's a little bit more powerful effect than bouncing a thing, but it still can be powerful. You bounce it and replay it, and you just get all your triggers again.
This is what I'd like to see right here. Look, Dan, a good, well-established Magic player, having to say, "What is this? What card are you playing here?" That's kind of like I like. I like when people play these little outside decks.
Yep. So this is the card that I said would really swing the match in Zack's favor, but not when you play it with nothing on the board. Yeah. So he gains life equal to allies. So he played it and gained 1 life, and then Dan immediately answered it with a Shard Volley, I believe.
Cool. Yeah, Shard Volley. He has sack a land for that, right?
Yep, sack a mountain.
And look, Dan's hand is just pure gas here.
I believe it's Boros Charm and Lightning Helix.
So is Dan gonna have to he's just obviously hoping to just continue to draw spells here, right? Just keep playing spells, or
I think
a creature, another 1-drop creature here.
I think the best thing for him would be so it wasn't a Lightning Helix, it was a Lava Spike, but I think the best thing would be probably another Goblin Guide. Okay. Playing a Swift Spear here wouldn't be great because that means any creature that Zack plays would probably be able to block it at least decently well. So like. With Zack at 10, I think, pretty much the best thing he can do right now is just play the 2 spells in hand and then draw like 2 running burn spells and just close this game out.
Is this the creature that Zack's on board? Is that the one that's gaining the life again, or no?
No. So the white one is the Vigilance.
Oh, the Vigilance.
The Vigilance First Strike guy, and then the blue one is the clone.
Just kind of making a little bit of a wall for himself there, but we know Dan's got
Well, the white one, they both are the same guy. They have Vigilance. So he's able to get in and be on the defensive, which is really good here. Yep. It's going to stop the Goblin Guide from attacking.
Looks like Dan drew another land. Not good for burn to top deck lands here, right?
Yeah. The big thing is that neither of the burn spells in his hand target creatures.
No, he's just got 1 burn spell.
He had the Lava Spike in hand that he played last turn, yeah. All he has is the Boros Charm now. Which, I mean, if he really wants to use it, he could make his dude indestructible, but it doesn't even do anything here. So yeah, he just points at a face, hopes to top deck something. And this is the Zack played a
now.
Yep, that's really bad. Zack played a really powerful card in the matchup, which is here we go, Karaba Evangel. It gives him protection from a color, so he's able to like not even block now, to like preserve his life to draw another burn spell.
So can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So this card says whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield, choose a color. And if you do, allies you control gain protection from a color. And when a creature has protection from a color, it says that creatures of that color can't block it, sources can't deal damage to it, and it can't be targeted by that color.
Gotcha. Looks like he might have lethal here.
I think he does. Fire Mantle Mage gives them, all it does is give them Menace, but that's not the important part. The important part is that the 2 will get counters.
Gotcha. Pretty big comeback there from Zack.
It really was. He seemed to be on the back foot, and then Dan was not able to draw anything that he could point at creatures, which is a really weird thing to say about a burn deck.
So really quick here, does this mean Dan's starting his layout here? He's not going to be he's not changing his sideboard at all, huh?
I guess not.
Bringing anything in here?
Well, this is game 3, so he must feel pretty confident on what he did sideboard in.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he's thinking. He might be thinking, maybe he should have just pointed them at face rather than trying to kill his creatures, or maybe he just was like, hey, I drew 2 lands in the row, and at the end, what can I do?
Yeah. I'm always like an advocate of kind of like just like even bluffing a little bit of sideboard cards myself, honestly. Just maybe make your opponent think that like you're taking out something that they was a little bit slow, maybe adding a little bit extra in there, something like that. Yeah. So again, as we've seen two or three times tonight, Burn on the play has a big advantage. So Dan here is going to be on the play for going into their game 3.
Yep.
Very interesting, this Allies deck. Not something I'm super familiar with. I have. I think I've seen maybe once or twice on like YouTube streams, but that's about it. I've not gotten to see it in person at all.
Yep, I've seen its effect firsthand as it beats me in the face.
It was actually like a standard like tier 2 or 3 deck, right? For a while when it was like a year or 2 ago, right?
That not really, because pretty much all the cards that you're playing in this modern version are the original printing of Allies.
Okay.
So like way back when that was kind of a deck. Wow.
Yeah,
he has
look at
4
this.
Lava Spikes in hand. And 1 land. And a Searing Blaze. And
I think he's got to keep it, yeah, right?
It seems pretty good. If he ever draws a second land, he might just like run away with the game super fast.
I can't see why unless maybe he just like he is a Monastery Swiftspear though too, right?
Is that what that is?
Like there's a card, yeah.
Yeah, I can't really tell what that is.
If that's a Monastery Swiftspear, this is.
Oh yeah, I would snap keep this.
Hand, yeah. Yep.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
So yeah, just get out there with your creature, and then as long as there's no way for his land to get taken out of, which Allies didn't look like it had any land disruption, he's just looks like he's
the worst thing is that he keeps his hand, doesn't draw a second land, and Zack on turn 2 plays the first strike guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's dumping that. I think with the Searing Blood in his hand, that's really good because Zack's only real large defense against that kind of hand would have been his Lifelinker guy, right?
Either the Lifelinker or the First Striker. But the First Striker would only just stop the Swiftspear.
Because I mean, I think that he had.
I still think it was. I think it was very keepable.
Because getting the Swiftspear out, maybe he's worried about so Zack just plays that First Striker as a blocker instantly? Is that what he's worried about?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you play that, and then you play one other thing, and then it always profitably blocks the Swiftspear. But I think you're just still fast enough with that hand. You're just if you ever draw a second land, you're just 6-you, 6-you, 6-you.
And so now this is also representing that he's looking for a 2-land hand, correct?
Yeah.
So now he's going to have 2 lands, right? But less
gas.
So now, okay, well here we see him with 3.
Way less gas.
But so just instantly less gas. I don't really know how much I like this mulligan at all.
The mulligan actually turned out, I think, pretty well for him.
Okay.
Because he has, I believe, 2 Goblin Guides in hand.
No, he has 1 Searing Blood, 1 Goblin Guide, and 1 Lava Spike.
I thought the last 2 in the end were the new art of the Goblin Guides.
But seeing a Scry to the top, obviously that's fine for him.
Yeah,
right?
It's probably any burn spell.
Yeah.
He would just bottom any land and keep anything else.
Yeah, so see here already, with the blocker up, okay, well, he's going to be able to get rid of this.
Yeah, he's probably just going to play a land, Searing Blaze or Searing Blood it, and then keep going. like just trying to keep tempo.
Yeah. All right. Well, so yeah, Dan knows what he's doing. I mean, he's a good Magic player. Obviously, he knows what he's doing, and it looks like it might pay off for him here.
For sure.
So yeah, so he's got 2 removal spells now, whereas in like the first hand that he didn't keep only had a single removal, like creature removal spell.
Right.
So now like he gets to get this out of the way, get some damage in, and then next turn he gets to use the Lightning Helix to remove the next creature as well.
Right. That might have been what he was worried about, is that all of the burn spells in his hand had to go to the face. So like if his
Could gas out or something.
Right, yeah, if his opponent was ever just like had a crazy start, he just had no way of dealing with it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, he got to land off with a Goblin Guide trigger, which is pretty good for Zack. I can't quite see his hand, but just drawing a card for free is pretty good.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. It's a pretty interesting matchup. I mean, I like the idea that like allies can kind of like, once they kind of get any creatures on board, they're not super worried about Dan's,
Yeah, exactly. It's a really snowbally deck, right? So like you have one ally and you're like, okay, that's fine, and then you grab the second ally and you're like, all right, this is starting to be a problem, and then any ally after that you're just like, wow, like how is this like happening?
So now Dan's going to probably hold this Lightning Helix as removal unless he gets to a position where he can start looking for a kill, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to probably play his third land, Lava Spike, hold up Lightning Helix, and then if Zack plays something that's very relevant, kill it. If not, then he might hold on to it and see what he draws. And then being at 13, he's like pretty favored right now. Alright, so the best thing he can draw right now is another Blaze or Burning Effect or whatever. Alright, so it's Skullcrack. That's another one that can only go to face.
So I think he's got to still remove this creature, right?
Yeah, just to let his Goblin Guy continue to get in. Yep.
Alright, so we're seeing that, and then what? He's going to be also forced to Lava Spike as well, right? Because he's just going to want to, like...
Yeah, he has nothing else to hold up, so just getting in the extra damage right now is just good. And also being
unless he wants to bluff, which that's
sure.
So here he's maybe just holding up to a bluff.
Yeah, I guess there really is no reason to just like run it out and tap out. Yeah, I still don't think.
What is this that he just cast?
This is the Evangel, the one that gives protection. So he at the end of the battlefield he gave protection from red.
Now top deck in another land. This is possibly another reason. How important would it have been to maybe fetch to thin out the deck? Is that not super relevant?
It's kind of relevant because I know Burn only plays like 18 lands.
Okay.
So like, obviously like you can run the statistics and people will be like, oh, it's only like 2% less or something, like some crazy small number, and it's like, yeah, but that's still less, and you really don't want to draw them.
Really playing the bluff game here, so he held that land again. Like, I mean, he's just instead of just thinning out the deck, he really wants Zack to be worried about like possible like
well, now he has
lethal damage.
Yeah, now he has Skullcrack open, which is kind of good to hold up because if he just plays like ally, and then the guy that gains life, he can like just say, okay, you can't gain this life.
Gotcha. So, this card, the protection card, obviously stopping Goblin Guy from being able to do anything, right? So just
it's only until end of turn, but it's a 2/3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he can't really attack into it.
Gotcha. Dan's gonna fetch here. Hopefully he just looking to top deck another burn spell here. He's got one Skullcrack already representing Zack at 5. So.
Yep. I think I see a Blessed not Blessed Alliance. What's it called? The one that I was talking about earlier from his sideboard, the one that gains 4 life or sack a creature, or both if you pay 4.
Blessed Alliance.
Oh yeah, right there, Blessed Alliance. All right.
Yeah, Blessed Alliance.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah, so essentially acting as like kind of like a counter spell in this sense, right? Like, I mean, it's basically like it's gonna cast it in response to a burn spell and just basically nullify it.
Yeah, it just depends if how the sequencing goes. It could go in either way. If Zack does it too early and Dan is able to play Skullcrack in response, then it's just like feels bad.
Yeah.
But if Dan like taps out for something and then a Blessed Alliance and he gains 4 life in response, then it feels really good for Zack.
Looks like that's what we're gonna have here.
Yep. Yep, he went to just value, gain 4 life, and Dan said, no life for you, also take 3.
So now, was that Blessed Alliance in So the Blessed Alliance is not on an attack trigger, right? It's just sacrifice creature. Sacrifice attacking.
It is
creature,
sacrifice attacking creature. That's one of the modes.
So did he? It's hard to kind of tell here. Was he doing that in response to Dan attacking?
No. He's just you don't have to pick that mode.
Gotcha. I just was
right. So
what other modes would he have liked from that?
Gain 4 life.
And he didn't escalate, right?
No.
Okay. Gotcha.
So he just at the end of your turn, he tried to pay just pay 2 to gain 4.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So now, unless Zack kind of gets another Blessed Alliance or some kind of way to get some life gain on here.
And there's one. So he'll gain 2 off of this.
Okay.
Which isn't a lot, but it's enough to get him out of like Boros Charm range.
Yep. Ended up to be a pretty good little matchup here.
Yeah, for sure. Dan seems pretty reasonably far ahead. Like Zack is, even with this life gain trigger, still not in a healthy spot.
So he's gonna use the bolt to remove that creature. Why?
Because it'll make sure so Zack only gains 1 life, and also he can't continue to give his creatures protection. This will also allow his Goblin Gate to be able to attack pretty unimpeded. Now he plays the clone effect and gains 2 more life.
Okay. And so if that clone effect would have came in with that other creature still on board, he would have gained an additional one as well?
You're correct.
Okay.
So he would have gained 2 from the first one and then 3 from the second one.
So here we see Dan again, just top decking these fetch lands. Kind of bad beats here for Dan, right?
Yeah, it really is. I know, like we said, the deck doesn't play that many, and he just happens to draw them. And
so now, if you're Dan, are you going to play one of these at least, right? Or what do you think? Or just
I don't think so. I think you just hold them. Like, there's no reason to. You're not playing anything that costs 4 mana. Or 5 mana.
Not trying to thin the deck out more. You're more using it for bluff than you would for.
Yeah, kind of at this point, like you're out of reach of just like top decking a removal spell. So at this point, you want to like slow your opponent down by being like, hey, I can blow up whatever, like
Okay.
Like I'm just waiting to kill you, so
Looking at what we got going on now, and Aether Vial not super important right now, right? At this point in the game, or no?
Not really, unless his hand is like randomly like a bunch of allies. But he's had lands this whole time, so I don't think so. So what he did here, in case you missed it, was he has 2 ally encampments and he sacrificed one of them to bounce. We talked about this earlier, and he bounced the life gain one and then replayed it and gained 2 more life.
Just pulling ahead here now.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he's taking control now. It's going to be very tough for Dan to probably come back, huh?
Yeah, he would have to draw like, I don't even know, like running creatures into like a bunch of like burn spells, like Searing Blazes.
This is a point for me where I really am thinking I'm playing one of these fetch lands, because I don't know really what his plan is to try and hold these 2 to bluff. Because if he's playing, if Zack is a smart player, he's going, okay, if those are burn spells in your hand, you're playing these. We've already went 2 turns now where he didn't play these at the end of the turn.
Yeah, so and he didn't kill my creatures in response to the life gain trigger. So
yep. And even if it's a minimal amount of land thinning, I'm wanting that. I'm wanting to thin out as much as possible at this point. Because any land that you're pulling off the top of your deck is just gonna like be a dagger for him. So.
Yeah, for sure. Like if he draws like 1 more land, it's just there's no way he's coming back.
Yeah.
Even at this point, I'm still not sure that he can draw reasonably well to do anything. Well, here's a creature, but the 2/3 in the way is kind of stopping that.
Still, again, Dan. I assume Dan's just really trying to bluff a Skullcrack. That's like the main thing I'm assuming that he's trying to bluff. But like there's been life gain triggers that he didn't respond to. So
right.
I don't know why he's just really not deciding to play these lands, unless he's just afraid of dealing himself any damage, and so he just thinks it's not going to be any advantageous.
I guess
any advantage for him.
Yeah.
Is there any cards that he could be bluffing other than a Skullcrack?
I don't think so. Like especially now that he's gained so much life, there's no way he wouldn't have played it. So I think just like.
In this position for Burn, like they don't have really any way they can get out of an 18-point deficit or 18 life deficit, right? In this kind of position.
No, like Burn doesn't play any like board wipes, anything. So like, the best thing is if he randomly had like Anger of the Gods or something,
or like a new Chandra, like the new Chandra maybe to get like card advantage or something.
Sure,
like that.
Yeah, that would work too. It might, but I think at this point, like his opponent now has a bigger board than him and is above the life total. Yeah, this is like definitely over. He sacked his other ally encampment to bounce the life gain guy.
Wow. So Allies takes it down for Game Storm Sunday Night Magic. Crazy. This is what we're talking about, chat. Like, there's like these decks that are not considered even tier 1 or tier 2,
yep.
and can just take down. We had almost 40 players here tonight. A lot of good players.
Yep. Yeah, these definitely aren't a bunch of new guys that are just getting rolled by some troll, Like, these are all experienced Magic players that know what they're doing and know how to play their decks. And, sometimes you just come in and you're just like, wow, that's a real deck. And you're like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Obviously showing the big advantage of just having, like, a lot of pressure as well,
Yep. Yep, it just has like the key things that you need in a modern deck. You need to be not like messing around, right? Not just doing like random stuff that don't do anything. You need to be able to apply pressure. You need to be able to either protect your pressure or interact with your opponent. And in this case, he's putting on a lot of pressure, and he's able to protect it with the other allies. So he's able to like give a protection with the Evangel. He's able to just collect a company to gain more and stuff like that.
Well, I think also a notable different. So I also like the X factor of a deck as well. Mm-hmm. And the if you compare this to other tribal decks, like if you compare this to like humans or spirits, and like humans, the X factor for them is like disruption or denial. Mm-hmm. And then for spirits is like evasion and also denial.
Right.
With this deck, the life gains seem to be their X factor.
Yeah. I think they have. It's weird. So they're more like versatile they're kind of like slivers, right? Where you can like give them different effects, and that's where like they get their versatility. It's not necessarily like attacking your hand or attacking your spells, but it's like being able to have your allies adapt to the situation, right? So your creatures adapt to, instead of like you're stopping your opponent or whatever, right? So I think that's the big thing, is like being able to like Evangel. I think is a really big part of that deck. Being able to stop like kill spells, stuff like that, and then also being able to just get all your allies through. It's just so powerful.
Very cool. Did you want to do a quick interview of him really quick?
Yeah, sure.
I look for normally even though it's our last match, we still look usually for one like final little matchup for the end of the night.
See if anybody wants to play.
Yeah. So I'll have you interview him really quick. All right, Dustin's gonna interview our winner here for the night with the Allies deck here. All right. Cool. Nice job. Yeah. Oh, 9-1. That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, so here we have the winner for the entire night, playing on Allies.
Yeah, boneless humans.
Boneless humans. All right. Well, congratulations, first of all.
Thanks. 5-0.
All right. Yeah.
5-0, 9-1. That was the only game I dropped tonight.
Nice.
I'm boasting. I'm sorry.
So, so what are your general thoughts on the deck? Like, why play this over, say, humans or spirits?
I've asked that question. I've been asked that question for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And I played spirits for a while. I've been playing Allies since Battle for Zendikar came out, so I played them in Standard then, and I transitioned myself into Modern as they're a very good get into Modern deck because you can build them in so many ways. Mm-hmm. What makes Allies different than humans and spirits is that Allies is more about getting you dead, like right now.
So
like,
speed.
Speed, exactly. So humans gets disruption in the form of like Meddling Mage and Freebooter. Mm-hmm. Allies gets all my allies are unblockable, you are dead. Earlier today, on turn 5, I swung for 40+ damage.
Dang.
Yes. Gave all my allies +6/+0 and protection from white against his board of just white creatures. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's a good trade-off. Something else kind of interesting about allies is that they grow in value the longer the game goes. So you're incentivized not to jump because you need your allies to keep getting counters.
Yeah.
And the last thing I find really specific about allies is that when you're building your deck, you kind of, there are going to be bad draws in whatever deck you build, right?
Right.
But with allies, the goal is to minimize the amount of bad draws to as close to 0 as possible. Mm-hmm. So the original build of Naya allies that didn't have blue and didn't have Aether Vial was built with that premise in mind. The idea is that any ally, no matter how good or bad, is good because it will let you play an ally and make your board better. Mm-hmm. Your lands let you play ally encampment, which was clutch in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I was not winning without that land. Both of them. And then you have, like, top it off with, like, Collecting Company.
Right.
So, like, even in a game 1, right, I did lose, but I swung for 10 damage on turn 4.
Yeah, you just, like, out of nowhere. You had nothing on board, then you're like, oops, 10.
Yeah, exactly. So people are like, oh, this idiot main phase company? Well, I'm like, I know I'm going to hit my haste creatures or my clones.
Right.
So you have this divide. You can split allies up into sort of like 3 categories. You have your Hada Free Blades, Kazandu Blade Masters, and Ordinary Survivalists.
Okay.
These are the champion of the parish effects. These are the beaters.
Okay.
Hada Free Blade is very good because it's a 2-mana 2/2 with First Strike and Vigilance. That's it. And it will get better for every creature in the deck. So you're already like at curve when you play it for 2.
Yeah.
It gets better every time. And the First Strike is super relevant. And the Vigilance is super relevant. And then in the 3-drop slot, you have what are like the push allies. These are the one-time effects, like one time. They're obviously not going to trigger once.
Right.
But these are the ones that let you get in. You have give your creatures protection from a color, which is essentially unblockable.
Right.
Menace, which is pseudo-unblockable. Or lifelink, the idea being that you'll put yourself out of range.
Okay.
And the last portion of deck are the cheap creatures and the clones. This is the Hada Free Blades. This is the Expedition Envoy. It's a bad Savannah Lions.
Yeah.
It has no abilities, and I'm playing it, and I love it. Because what you do is, there's a very specific line of play that I found that helps you like beat modern decks like Tron.
Okay.
You play your 1-drop ally, so either Hada Free Blade or Expedition Envoy. Then you play your Coom Battle Singer, which triggers, and then on turn 2, because it has haste, you get in for 5. Modern is a very fast format, but getting in for a quarter of your opponent's life total on turn 2, and then you can go past that. That's what makes it good. Just doing it 5 one time wouldn't be very good, but the fact that I can go the next turn and do it again if you don't answer it, I think that's very good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just totally forgot what I was going to say there for a second. But, so, what, yeah, I don't know. You blew my mind.
Because I've been playing allies for a very long time. It's my absolute favorite tribe because there are so many different ways you can build it. Like there's Boros allies that plays more like 8-whack, but like with a grind because your allies grow over time.
Right.
So sometimes you just like whack you, game over. Other times you like grind out the match.
Yeah.
I think for that particular game, game 1 kind of had me. Game 2 I kind of got a little lucky, but game 3 was all come down to sort of how I played my sideboard cards. So I had Ondu Cleric, which is ETB, gain life equal to the number of allies.
Right.
I had that. I had the Clone Ally, which is Juari Shapeshifter.
Yep.
So, and then he Goblin Guided me on turn 1, and he revealed Blessed Alliance, which has 4 modes, and one of them is to gain 4 life. That's not a bunch, but it is something against burn.
Right.
So I knew that the only chance I had of winning that match was to get the Clone and the Battlefield and the Cleric at the same time, and to get them going, which is what happened. So when I, for like seemingly no value, played my Blessed Alliance, it's because I figured he had the Skullcrack. So I'm like, if he plays the Skullcrack now, then I go off with my creatures. If he doesn't play the Skullcrack and he holds it for what he thinks is my creatures, I'll gain 4, and I'll get to keep going.
Right.
So I played into the Skullcrack, putting myself at 4, which is dangerous, but he only had 1 mana. I made sure to check that.
Yeah.
Putting myself down to 4 is risky because if he has a Bolt and I lose, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You lose. So
yeah, we were talking about that, how like it seems pretty risky, and like we knew he had the Skullcrack, so we're like, all right, it's all dependent on how we play. You know, like if you like wait for him to do something and then you respond, or it's like basically who pulls the trigger first is gonna lose. But you had another plan in mind, so you baited him out.
Played into it. If you can't play through it, play into it or play through it.
Right.
Like if your opponent has a Wrath, go for just hit them, make them wrath you, and hope you can rebuild faster.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best strategy. Seemed okay today. Seemed like my only chance to win.
Yeah, I feel like I had mentioned, that I think allies could really, really be like a popular top tier deck if they had like 1 or 2 more good ones, notably in like the 1-drop slot. Like if you could replace Expedition Envoy with something like that had a little bit more of a relevant trigger on it.
Hada Free Blade.
Like another one.
So 8 Hada Free Blades?
Yeah, something like that. Just like anything that's like a 1-mana something that has a relevant. Sure.
But that's not an ally.
Right. No, but I'm saying like if they ever printed allies again, and they were just like, here's a random like 1-mana one that has like a decent effect that on enter the battlefield triggers.
I think that's okay. I think that it's like I said earlier with you break the deck into 3s.
Yeah.
The cheap creatures are very important. It is extremely important that it has 2 power so that you can get in for 5. So the idea is that Hada Free Blade and or Expedition Envoy both are the same creature in that line.
Okay.
If I play the Hada Free Blade, it has 2 power. Then I play the Battle Singer, and I get in for 5. If I play the
Envoy.
I'm sorry. Previous one was the If I play the Envoy, it has 2 power. I get in for 5. If I play the Expedition, the Bear, get in for 5. If I play the other one, it has 1 power and 2 toughness. But when the second ally enters the battlefield, it gets 2 power, and then it gets the trigger, and I get in for 5. The reason why it's in there with no abilities is because you need to be able to get in for 5, so you can follow that up on turn 3 with a ally that gets through. either Menace, Lifelink, or Protection.
Right.
4. And 4 Aether Vials.
Four collector companies.
Yeah, so I'm playing 4 collector companies and 4 Aether Vials, and that is really close to the sun. And in any other deck, I probably wouldn't recommend that. It is probably wrong to play 4 Aether Vial and 4 Cocoa because they kind of go against each other. But my philosophy for allies is that I want to see one or the other. So one of the flaws in Aether Vial decks and collector company decks is that you only have 4. So you're building your deck around this card, but you only have 4 of them, and you won't draw it every time. But you can minimize that because they do something similar, even if they go against each other. So when I open my hand up and I look at it by 3 at a time, I'm trying to see either Collect a Company or Aether Vial, not both.
Right.
If I have both, I'll ship it back. But if I have just one, it's really good. If I have Collect a Company, then I know I can start getting lands up to Collect a Company. If I don't, then I'll just rely on Aether Vial. So.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so the last card that I think was a really good one was Lead the Stampede. How many deals of those do you play?
2.
2? Yeah, it seems pretty good. You got some really good pressure. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna let you get out of here. Congratulations again on winning.
Thanks.
I hope to see you again next week.
5-0, 9-1.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Good luck.